Please adhere to YouTube selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alrighty, so today I, a cigarette smoker, am going to be trying a rum and Pepsi for the first time. Rum and Coke has been my go-to drink as of late, frankly put. And I've been enjoying rum and Coke so much that I got to thinking that maybe, just maybe, Coca-Cola's main name brand competitor, Pepsi, would be good when mixed in with rum as well. And so as such, I figured, hey, why not make a video of me trying a rum and Pepsi for the first time to find out live on video just how good or bad a rum and Pepsi actually is. Will a rum and Pepsi be good, maybe even better than a rum and Coke? Well, I don't know, but well, I'm looking forward to finding out, I will acknowledge. Before I go any further into the video, I do want to clarify that this whole video, that this whole idea, this whole experience is not an excuse just for me to have another drink. This is not an excuse just for me to have another drink. Nope, not an excuse. This is a scientific experiment. This is not an excuse for me to have some alcohol before dinner. This is not an excuse to have a drink. This is a scientific experiment right here. This is a scientific experiment. That's right, y'all heard it here first. This is not an excuse for me to have a drink. It's not. It's not. But without further ado, I do suppose I should probably go ahead and cover just what materials I'm going to be using for the rum and Pepsi I'm going to be making during today's video. Today I have some Mount Gay Black Barrel Rum, which cost me roughly $45 for this bottle. The rum inside this bottle has an ABV of 43%, a proof of 86, and is from Barbados. This is a pretty solid rum to sip on in my personal opinion, and it's also especially solid in a rum and Coke, and it had better be for the price in all honesty, but I'm thinking that this should work pretty well with Pepsi as well, I am thinking. The Pepsi I've got with me today is just some normal, classic Pepsi, frankly put. I've got it in the can, not in a plastic bottle, and this can cost me around about $2, I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly. I've also got a little bit of lime juice with me today as well. This is some Lidl lime juice in specific, and then I've got a little bit of a fork as a stir, along with my little cheapy, fancy-looking glass right here. But I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and get to pouring my first ever rum and Pepsi now, shouldn't I? So I'm going to go ahead and move my camera just back, just a little bit like that. And I'm going to bring it down just a little bit, just like that as well. So hopefully y'all can see what I'm doing just a little bit more so than not, even though my glass is still actually kind of off screen. Let's try to bring it down just a little bit more. There we go. Now y'all can see a little bit of what's going on. But let's go ahead and grab my rum first off, I am thinking. Let's go and get the cork all out. Go and just pour in just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it to right about probably that point or something like that. I'm going to try to do a 1-to-3 ratio of rum and Pepsi. That should be about good right there. Let's go ahead and close that back up now. And let's go ahead and, oh wait, I just realized. I need to grab myself a little bit of a thumbnail. I need to grab myself a little bit of a screenshot for this video. Well, I can do that after I pour up my, my rum and Pepsi. It ain't no biggie. Let's go and get this can all opened up. Ooh, satisfying noise. Ooh, that was nice. That was nice. Let's go ahead and pour some of this in. Now, I will acknowledge it has been, in all honesty, a couple years since the last time I had Pepsi. So what I'm going to do just real quick before I go ahead and take a sip of my rum and Pepsi is I'm going to go ahead and just take a sip of Pepsi just to get an idea of the differences between Pepsi and Coca-Cola, which I've been drinking a decent amount of lately. Okay, I'd have to say it's a little bit more soft, more caramelly, less cocoa-y, and a little bit more vanilla-y, for sure. They're not dissimilar tastes by any means. They are more similar than not. They're both brown sodas after all. But But when compared to Coca-Cola, which very much has that of a sort of caramel, Coca-like sort of taste, in my personal opinion, I'd have to say Pepsi has more of a vanilla sort of caramel-like flavor to it. That's just my personal take, though. It's definitely a little bit of a different flavor, but it's still a flavor that, now having had some Pepsi for the first time in a couple years, it's a flavor that I still think is going to pair quite well with rum, in all honesty. Without further ado, the last thing I need to do to add to my rum and Pepsi is put in some lime juice. I'm making this as I would a rum and Coke, and so there's going to be a little bit of lime juice in there as well. Just like that. Not too much by any means, just a little bit of lime juice. And now let's go ahead and grab my fork that I've got as a stirrer, and let's go ahead and just stir it all up and whatnot. Stir it all up, just take my time doing it, and oh my god, I'm just looking at the sky right now. The sky is so pretty. Oh wow, it is beautiful. It's been kind of cloudy all day today, but wow, the clouds are moving too. It's like really still down here right now. I'm afraid I'm now going to get hit by a massive amount of wind because the clouds are moving really fast. It is very pretty though. Wow. Sun's kind of going down a little bit, I'll acknowledge. But just stir it up just a little bit more, just like that. And there we go, y'all. There we go. My first ever rum and Pepsi is now complete. Before I go ahead and take a sip, I think I should probably grab myself a little bit of a screenshot, grab myself a little bit of a thumbnail with my rum and my Pepsi at the same time. So let's go ahead and do that real quick, I do think. Oh, just like that. Alrighty though. Hopefully that'll work as a, well, screenshot for the thumbnail of this video. Man though, I can't get over how pretty the sky is right now. The sun is just kind of bouncing off the clouds, making a very nice sort of peachy orange color. Excuse me. Wow. I am enjoying the weather right now, I will acknowledge. It's very still down here. It feels really nice. It's like probably about like 68 degrees right now. It's amazing weather. And like it was like really cold like 3 days ago, and then for the last 3 days I've had really good weather in my local area, so I ain't complaining. But it's been great. This weather is fantastic, and it has been good for the last 3 days. It's supposed to get cold again tomorrow, but I'm gonna enjoy this weather as much as I can while I can. Let me tell y'all what. Without further ado though, I do suppose I should probably go ahead and take a sip of my first ever rum and Pepsi. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a sip and find out just how a rum and Pepsi actually is for the first time. Yes sir, you know what I'm saying? It's different. It's definitely a little bit different. There's definitely, well, more vanilla. There's definitely a little bit more caramel. And I'd have to say, just initially at least, could have just been the amount of rum I added, because I didn't do exact measurements by any means. But I am personally feeling like right now, the Pepsi does a slightly worse job at covering up the taste of the rum. Now, that might be better for your personal preferences or less to your personal preference. It just depends on personal preference, in all honesty. I don't mind it personally, but it's definitely different than a rum and Coke. Drinking a rum and Pepsi, it's not the same thing by any means, of course, as one would expect. Just simply because, well, Pepsi and Coke, they're not the same thing, of course. Very interesting. Yeah, I would have to say, I definitely do think the Pepsi covers up the flavor of the rum a little bit less. I do think it does. Like, I'm getting sort of an undertone of rum right now, getting a little bit of alcohol, a little bit of sort of, I'd have to say, a little bit of a sort of slightly sort of like toffee, nutty, slightly sort of gingerbready sort of thing going on, I'd have to say, from the rum. And that's very much the taste of the Mount Gay Black Barrel that I've tried in the past. I have tried this rum in the past. I've tried it both on its own and in a rum and coke, and I'm definitely able to taste some of the intricacies of the Mount Gay Black Barrel through the Pepsi. And I think it's just started raining. I think it's sprinkling on me. Oh, it is. It is sprinkling on me. Well, that's not very good. So, yeah, I tried the Mount Gay Black Barrel rum in a rum and coke. Not on a video, I didn't do like a review of it or anything like that kind of thing. I did a review of the Mount Gay Black Barrel, but not of the Mount Gay Black Barrel with coke. But with that one, I definitely feel like the coke covered up the flavor of the rum a little bit more. With the Pepsi, I personally think that the flavor of the rum shines through a little bit more, and just in a different way as well. Like, I personally think that the flavor of Coca-Cola mixes better generally with the flavor of rum to kind of make one sort of ubiquitous flavor, whereas with the Pepsi, they're kind of staying separate, and so you get a little bit more complexity. Maybe it's just me. I'm not exactly sure, but that's kind of what I'm feeling. I'm kind of feeling like the flavor of the rum and the flavor of the Pepsi are kind of staying separate. And that's not a bad thing at all. It's just different, in all honesty. Very interesting. Very interesting. And overall, flavor-wise, I would have to say from the Pepsi, I'm very much getting that of a sort of vanilla, caramel-like flavor, in my personal opinion, with a little bit of some other stuff going on, of course, as well. It's sort of a sweet, sugary, vanilla, caramel-like flavor. And then under that, there's that rum sort of flavor of a sort of toffee, nutty, sort of gingerbready flavor, I'd have to say. Excuse me. In my opinion, a lot of times, rum kind of disappears into the flavor of Coke. I would have to say that's not so much the case, at least in this scenario with Pepsi. It doesn't quite disappear into the flavor of Pepsi. Not as well. Saying well, it's not quite the right way to put it, in my opinion. But it doesn't disappear into Pepsi in quite the same way when it comes to flavor. Definitely the flavor of the Pepsi is the most prominent flavor in there, for sure. However, it's not like the flavor of the rum entirely disappears into Pepsi. You're still able to notice some of the surprisingly deep intricacies of the rum through the Pepsi. Now, of course, not nearly as deep as it would be if you're just drinking the rum straight. Don't get me wrong, but I do definitely feel like you're able to notice more intricacies of the rum with Pepsi, and it could just very well be this rum. Some rums might just disappear into Pepsi just insanely well, kind of thing. However, with this rum at least, it kind of contrasts the Pepsi a little bit to an extent while combining also quite well. Very interesting. I think I can say with confidence, I don't prefer a rum and Coke over a rum and Pepsi. And I think I can say with confidence, I don't prefer a rum and Pepsi over a rum and Coke. They're just different. They're just different. I don't prefer one over the other. I like them both equally, I would have to say. Now, I'll be honest with y'all. Most of the time, I do still think I will be drinking rum and Cokes. I do think rum and Cokes, just how they come across, how they cover the flavor of the rum just a little bit more kind of thing. I think that's probably, maybe, okay, I'll admit slightly more to my personal preference. So maybe I do prefer rum and Cokes a little bit more, but I don't think rum and Pepsis are bad by any means. I don't. They're just different. They're just different in all honesty. And they give you a different flavor, slightly different profile, slightly different effect to the rum itself. It very well could just be me. It very well could just be me thinking these things. Maybe I just had it in my head that I thought it was going to be different, and so it is. I'm not exactly sure. But it's interesting, and it's different than what I'm used to, which is a rum and Coke. This experience definitely making me want to try more rum with more brown sodas, in all honesty, such as like Dr. Pepper and stuff like that kind of thing. Dr. Pepper, is Mr. Pibb still a thing? I haven't seen Mr. Pibb in years. I got no idea. What other brown sodas are? RC Cola. I should do an RC Cola and rum, or rum and RC Cola. Yo, that would be hilarious. I should try that. A leaf just hit me in the head. But this is definitely making me want to try some more brown sodas with rum, and just sodas in general with rum, to kind of just see what's going on with the flavor profile of them all, which ones really fit the best with rum, and which ones do not work at all with rum, and to just see just how different soda and rum mixtures are, in all honesty. Excuse me, kind of wanting to give more sodas with rum a go, I'll admit. And I think that's something I'm going to have to do in the future. It's very close, though. Rum and Coke versus rum and Pepsi. Very close for me. Very, very, very close. It's almost even. I think I just prefer rum and Coke just a little bit more. It could very well just be because that's what I'm used to. If I'd started with rum and Pepsi, I think maybe it would be a different story, in all honesty. But either way, I don't mind a rum and Pepsi by any means, and I could definitely see myself doing this again 100%. Especially if I was kind of feeling like being able to taste the flavor of the rum just a little bit more through whatever soda I've got mixed in than with a rum and Coke. As I said, excuse me, I'm getting more jumbled up. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say. What did I want to say? I'm getting a little bit buzzed. As I was trying to say, though, what was I going to say? I think Coke really kind of soaks up the flavor of the rum and kind of covers it up a little bit, whereas Pepsi lets it shine through a little bit more. Maybe it's just the amount I poured today. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what I'm kind of feeling nonetheless. And so if I'm ever feeling like I'm going to prefer a rum and soda mixture where I can taste the flavor of the rum under the soda, I think a rum and Pepsi might have to be what I go for, in all honesty. But most of the time, I'm just kind of wanting to sip on a drink, have something nice that gets me a little bit buzzed, and a rum and Coke fits that pretty well most of the time, in all honesty. Especially since sometimes I do use much cheaper rum than not in my rum and Cokes. I've got some Captain Morgan in my little alcohol area. And I'll be honest with you, I'm glad I decided to use my expensive rum with this, because if I had used Captain Morgan, I don't think I would have really enjoyed this experience, because the Pepsi is just not covering up the taste of the rum just enough for me to... If I would have to say, at least for me, if I was going to make a rum and Pepsi again, I would want to use a better rum than not. A rum and Coke, I can just kind of throw any rum in, I feel like, and it's going to be, at minimum, decent enough to drink. If I had thrown, like, horrible crap rum into this, I think I would have had a much worse experience, in all honesty. Just because I can taste the flavor of the rum just a little bit more through the Pepsi. Maybe it's just me. Do y'all personally feel like, as well, if you guys have tried a rum and Pepsi before, do you guys personally think that you can taste the rum more through Pepsi than you can through Coca-Cola? I think that, but do y'all think that? Is it just me? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm curious to find out. Is that an ambulance or a fire truck? It's a fire truck. I think. It was an okay Doppler effect. It was okay. It wasn't great. I've had better. Doppler effects are so satisfying, I love them. Well, that was all there was to my rum and Pepsi. I'd have to say more solid than I enjoyed it, at least. Let me just put it that way. Any complaints on my behalf? No. I'd have to say no complaints on my behalf, in all honesty. None at all. No complaints on my behalf, y'all. Try to think if there's anything else I want to say. I've already kind of covered what my kind of final thoughts are on rum and Pepsi, in all honesty. I've covered how I feel about the taste, what the taste was like. Covered more so than not what I think of them, and what I think of them compared to rum and Cokes. So I think really the last thing I need to do is give a rum and Pepsi a rating. So for me personally, a rum and Coke is a 4 out of 4. A pretty solid mid 4 out of 4. Not like a high 4 out of 4. I feel like there might be something out there I might prefer more. But a 4 out of 4 nonetheless. And I'd have to say, you know, a rum and Pepsi is going to get a solid, like, mid 4 out of 4 as well, in all honesty. This is definitely something I would personally do again. Excuse me. And I would have to say that I think when I'm buying soda in the future, unless I'm really kind of craving a Pepsi, I will probably go for Coca-Cola in the future. I won't choose Pepsi over Coca-Cola, but if I'm kind of craving a Pepsi instead of a Coca-Cola, I can definitely see myself going for one. That is for sure. Overall, rum and Pepsi, 4 out of 4. That's what I'm saying, at least. 4 out of 4. For context, my rating scale goes from a 1 to 4, with 1 being like, this is terrible, 2 being like, you know, it's okay, 3 being like, this is pretty solid, and a 4 is like, this is a masterpiece. And for me, I'd have to say rum and Pepsi is pretty solid. It's more of a masterpiece of a drink than not. It goes together quite well, yet allows some of the taste of the rum to shine through. Yeah. I don't mind rum and Pepsis by any means, I can say. Overall, this has definitely been a more interesting experience than not. And I am genuinely glad I've had this experience today. Trying a rum and Pepsi for the first time has been interesting. It's definitely a little bit different than a rum and Coke, and it's something I'm very glad I gave a go to. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of rum and Pepsis. If you guys ever tried one before, do you guys like them? Do you guys not? Let me know in the comments down below, of course. I think I said everything I wanted to say for this video today, so I'm going to go and roll the outro. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content if you haven't already. Also, make sure to check out everything in the description down below, including but not limited to my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. box, and everything like that. Go check it all out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, y'all. Till the next one, stay safe in peace and have a great one. Yes, sir, and I'm saying.